나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 All right. Hello, everyone. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I hope you don't find the sound in the background too distracting as I'm wiping my soda off here. It's raining, and hopefully that'll just be a soothing background noise. Hopefully. So, I've got two subjects vying for attention in my mind. One of them, well, actually, both of them are a recurring question that's come up since I first started practicing. And so I can't possibly cover them both in the one podcast. So I'm going to pick one. It's going to spill over into the other, but that's okay. The second one might take more than one podcast to discuss. We'll see. Again, I wish you good health. I hope you're doing all right. The first question, I guess, will be the primary subject of this podcast, will be the chanting question in one of its many forms. This particular form comes to us repeatedly as this, and I think it's a particularly, I may be wrong, but I think it's a particularly Western question. Because of language, because of words. Yes, I'm saying that again. Chanting. Chant. The word chant. Now, I've talked about this on countless videos, but not every video. So it's possible you haven't heard me opine on the word chant. So let's get that out of the way right away. Very simply, chant, if you go to any English dictionary and look at the origins of that word. Now, to me, it's really obvious because I'm French Canadian. So, je chante, j'aime les chansons, j'aime chanter, all of those words in French, the root of chant is singing. Singing. And perhaps it would do well for a Westerner not familiar with Latin languages, because this goes all the way back to Latin, by the way, to think of the word chant or chanting as sing or singing or song. Think back to when you first learned the alphabet. What are you thinking right now? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You were singing. Painfully obvious, isn't it? This is the way humans have learned things since we started to walk upright. We learn things that way. We share things that way. We inculcate history and stories and knowledge and ideas about our human experience through song. Right? Shouldn't be too earth-shattering to find that out. Makes sense. We already know this. So I'm not really teaching you anything. I simply want to direct your mind to chanting. Because some of you think that Nichiren invented chanting. So let's just disavow you of that horrible misconception. This kind of thinking happens because we get stuck in these organizations that want to suck all of our learning and teaching and exposure to Buddhism to their way of seeing things with their book and their translation, and don't look anywhere else. Which, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know is completely wrong. It's not Buddhism. Buddhism, from the get-go, Shakyamuni was saying, study all of the scholarship of Buddhism, right? How else can you make up your own mind? Which Shakyamuni was very adamant about. Don't listen to me. Even Shakyamuni himself, the inventor, if you will, the proposer of Buddhism and Buddhist attainment, said, don't follow me. Don't listen to the person, Shakyamuni. Don't listen to me. Find out for yourself. Study all of the scholarship here. And you'll find it. That's not because he was arrogant or overconfident. He went through years of practices, austerities, all sorts of things in order to come to a truth that was incontrovertible. So, confusion about chanting, singing. Let me say in another way, the first 400 or 500 years of Buddhist scholarship was oral. How did Shakyamuni teach? Orally. He didn't write stuff down. He didn't read from a script. He didn't say, we'll call this to talk on this. He had a certain sermon, and he delivered it thousands of times over several years. So it had a verse section, a prose section, critical A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the verse section, nice little repetitive, what's the word? Iambic pentameter, right? Like a poem, like a song. This is how we learn things. So the sermons had these verse sections that basically were the entire sermon to memorize, to repeat, to recite, to chant, to sing. And the more... You have a favorite song? Did you have one growing up? Did you know every word of that song? Did you and your friends cackle together as you challenged each other's memories of how that song goes? Here's the lyrics, so on and so forth. This is how we learned the sutras. It wasn't until much later that they started to be committed to writing because of the angst about the loss of the Dharma, the Buddhist teachings, after Shakyamuni Buddha passed away. Right? This is a major concern of Buddhist scholarship. We don't want to lose the words of the Buddha, the sermons of the Buddha. Not the actual words, but to write them down as close as possible to the memorization so that we could glean from those songs the meaning of the song. Right? Now it's second nature to us. We think about popular artists, oh, she's the breakup queen. Everything she sings about are relationship breakups. Or he's the this guy, he's the this guy. Or I love that song. Everybody knows that song. It's about dreaming, and it's about the way things seem so real and dreaming. Right? We know shortcuts. But because the song is the way the song is, we all have a universal impression of what it's about and what it means. This is how Buddhism was taught for hundreds of years and beyond, thousands, right? Writing it down was an effort not to reinvent it, but to memorize it. Make sense? Now I'm going to drift into meditation. That's the second part, by the way. There's a close relationship there, I hope you can see. Vasubandhu, and this will be covered in the next video on those of, and I've heard from you guys, not all of you, but some people are keen to let me know that Buddhism is about meditation and nothing else. And I say to those people, you've been misled. You are teaching yourself, you are learning, you are being taught by teachers who haven't figured out that those old Hinayana ideas and early Mahayana ideas were suitable to the people of thousands of years ago, but they are no longer valid. Even though I will attest to the fact, because we're going to read a lot of these older sutras here, we will see the building blocks of what we now know from the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren's doctrine, Tendai's elucidations, Miaolo, Dengyo, these more latter Mahayana teachers, and specifically Lotus Sutra teachers, who understand the teaching appropriate to our epoch, our era, our modern latter-day Mapo era of the Buddhist teachings. We're going to see how they all are really talking about the same thing. They're just not completely evolved as they are in the latter teachings, the Lotus Sutra, even the Mahaparinirvana, which only upholds the Lotus Sutra, comes right back there. All of these earlier teachings about the mind, the body, the breathing, all of that, is because Shakyamuni had to deal with people who hadn't explored the power, even the understanding of the mind and how it's operating in this samsaric reality. This samsaric reality, by its very nature, is defined by the mind. And that was a huge enough revelation to spend decades teaching the people of his day. But he knew that by the time you and I come around, that wasn't going to be enough. That was going to be elementary to us. Right? 3,000, 2,000, 1,000 years ago, they weren't so familiar about fad diets. This diet, that diet, do this, do that. How to train our bodies with our minds by force. Yeah, we all know that, but they didn't know that 3,000 years ago. I can do what? No. I'm suffering. I'm in this caste. I'm in that caste. Thank you, Chloe. Dipstick. My little dog gets very nervous around the rain. She needs constant attention. You want to go back in the house, Chloe? Why don't you just sit here next to Daddy? Just sit here. That's right. Calm your mind. Okay. So what I wanted to point out about some of my research on Vasubandhu, the man who brought us extensive digging into the 5 aggregates, right? I mean, he didn't invent them. Stop it. This is Shakyamuni taught this. Vasubandhu was elucidating on it. And he talks about meditation and breathing. And I found the wording interesting. In the Anapanasati which many of you will know because some of you have been Theravada Buddhists in the past. Now, why am I losing frames? That's upsetting. Okay. In the Anapanasati, most commonly practiced with attention centered on the breath, right? Without any effort to change the breathing, because there are some that take effort to modify the breathing. I think this is Surangama. No, it says Satipatthana. There are many sutras talking about the same thing, if you haven't noticed. In the throat singing prevalent amongst the Buddhist monks of Tibet and Mongolia, the long and slow out-breath during chanting is the core of the practice. But the throat singing, which is this, and the Mongols, they do this resonant thing that's amazing. But this is a generalization of the way Buddhism, they didn't analyze it like you and I would in this day, because it was just commonplace. This is how people learn things, through oration, through singing, through chanting. No, Nichiren didn't invent chanting. It is the entire history, not only of Buddhism, but of human beings. This is the way we recall a teaching, the way we practice a teaching, the way we recite. So of course it's obvious that why Nichiren would adopt this way of practicing, because that's the history. And more specifically, and I've talked about this at length too, the reason we chant Myoho Renge Kyo, the title of the Myoho Renge Kyo, when we devote our attention to receiving the meaning and teachings of the Myoho Renge Kyo via the characters Na, I'm open, Mu, to receive Myoho Renge Kyo. It's no accident. This has been inculcated into the entire history of Buddhism. It's not new. It's not invented. It's something that's endemic to our species. Did Shakyamuni teach chanting? That's how he taught. It's just, if that question comes up in your mind, it's because you're listening to the wrong people. People that would have you think that sitting and contemplating your navel is the way to enlightenment. No. It's a part of the training that will lead you to insights that will then lead you to greater understanding, greater depth of consideration toward your training toward Buddhism, Bodhisattva, the Dharma, Myoho Renge Kyo, Buddhahood. You can't get a touchdown in football lest you learn how to put one foot in front of the other and walk. But walking isn't the way you score a touchdown. Walking is part of the way you get to perform a touchdown. But it is only a stepping stone. Walk, run, catch a football, look for obstacles, maneuver, use those skills of standing up on your 2 feet and develop them to the point where entering the end zone and experiencing the touchdown, you finally get to the place where you haven't accomplished it yet, where you can experience the full glory of the touchdown. Now, it may be in these earlier teachings, the sound of the chant also serves to focus the mind in one pointed concentration, samadhi. This paragraph is all I need here. It's all here. While the sense of self dissolves as awareness becomes absorbed into the realm of pure sound. What are we doing with this mandala? See, this is part of the brilliance of why we follow Nichiren. He understands us so well. All this noise of the mind, the monkey mind, all this noise in our heads, to try to cease that noise completely may seem like the entire, and if you read these early sutras, it's stated as the entire method that go, and here's again the words, pay attention. Don't be attached to the words, but pay attention to the meaning of the words. I was just rereading some of this, even in the Mahakasaka. Mahasakaka. Yeah, I always say that wrong. There was a Buddha. Buddha is really kind of redirecting a Jain practitioner and admonishing for all of the privations they put on themselves in order to be awakened. He's blowing that apart and he's going, no, it's not right at all. It's about going toward, I wish I could find the exact wording. Moving toward, going toward, goes toward enlightenment, goes toward awakening. Here it is. 7 factors for awakening. This is from the Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. In the 7 factors, factor 4, in one whose persistence is aroused, a rapture not of the flesh arises. Remember we talked about the worlds, and rapture is very glued to the body and the earth. That's why it's the highest of the 6 lower worlds, earthly samsaric existence. So even getting to that point, when you understand that a persistence in this meditation is a rapture not of the flesh, something beyond that. When a rapture not of the flesh arises in one whose persistence is aroused, then rapture as a factor for awakening is aroused in him. He develops it, and for him, it goes toward the culmination of its development. Goes toward. It isn't the culmination. It goes toward it. Goes on all the way to the 7th one, develops it, and for him goes toward the culmination of its development. The 7th one is watches the mind thus concentrated with equanimity. When he carefully watches the mind thus concentrated with equanimity, equanimity as a factor for awakening, is aroused in him. He develops it, and for him it goes toward the culmination of development. All of this is to say that if you're going to get attached to words, then frickin' read them and understand what they're pointing to. This obsession with this is the way Buddhism is meditation, then you've missed the moon entirely. So when Vasubandhu talks about active breathing and versus passive breathing, I will then remind you how many times I have mentioned that our practice of singing, Namo Myo Renge Kyo, and reciting, singing, the Gongyo to this mandala is active meditation. Because what does this do? What does this practice do? We chant, we sing with our voices, and we listen to what we're singing so we can sing it correctly. And we listen with our bodies so that there's a steady rhythm. And then we focus our eyes on the mandala of this law that we're singing, so that with our eye consciousness, our ear consciousness, our tongue and mouth consciousness, our voice consciousness, our body consciousness, every part of us where the monkeys could take hold, right? Where samsaric thoughts about, I am breathing, I am thinking, I am this or that, we go, whoop, Myoho Renge Kyo. That's what you're doing. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. The law, open Buddha. Be Buddha. Be here now. Desiring single-mindedly to see Buddha. All of these early teachings are only leading to this culmination of practice. The most direct, the most simple, the way Shakyamuni himself came to it. Once he dissected all of this other stuff that he's sharing now with the people of his day, because he understands where they are. He was there. So he's having to break them down the way he broke himself down. Until, after years of these sermons, of teaching the process of awakening, he finally gets to, okay, this is how I did it. This is the formula. This is how you do it. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo. And it takes all the way until, by the way he predicted, right? Only after the fifth 500-year period after I'm dead and gone and extinct will people finally be ready to practice this way and just attain Buddhahood for themselves. It's already here in all of us, but this is how I did it, this is how they will do it, and we are the they. We are the bodhisattvas of the earth. We are the ones now to experience this amazing law and to tell others about it. It is our time. All of this other stuff, it's not invalid as a teaching, as a preparation. It's not invalid to teach somebody addition and subtraction. It doesn't invalidate the amazing world of mathematics and physics and science today. But if you teach addition and subtraction as the end-all, the end point, the accomplishment of all of mathematics, you are a terrible teacher. You are the enemy of mathematics. You are retarding people's ability to achieve what is easily achievable for them because you refuse to let them get any more information. You want to keep them stuck. Why do you think Nichiren spent so much time in his letters railing against these other schools for becoming great obstacles to the enlightenment of the people of Japan? Because they are betraying the teachings. They are being huge obstacles to people's enlightenment. That's simply not tolerable. The whole basis of Buddhism is enlightenment. How could you stand as a Buddhist and keep people from attaining the most direct route to their enlightenment? How could you do that? You're not only not Buddhist by doing that, but you're an enemy of Buddhism, of people. So yeah, where did chanting come from? Human beings, right? Chanting, singing, to sing, to invoke. It's what we do. It's the way we learn. It's the way we experience. So the question, is there anywhere where Shakyamuni taught chanting? His teaching was chanting. I don't know how to answer that question. Why do you think, I already said, the verse sections, the prose section, they're memorization tools, and they're memorization by how? Sitting and contemplating each word? Certainly not. By recitation, by constantly repeating over and over again. It's the basis of learning throughout history, let alone in Buddhism. So yeah, I guess the short answer is Shakyamuni taught chanting. But that wasn't what he was teaching. That was the teaching. Okay? So I hope I put that one to bed, because it comes up repeatedly. Not by the same person, but again, by students of Buddhism who, I think, my opinion, come to this question in two different ways. One, when they're first exposed to it, it's so new that they think that it's a new thing. And two, because they've researched other types of Buddhism or belong to other groups and so forth, who make it sound like that's never been a part of Buddhist teaching. But there's a real dissonance in the mind there for me. It hurts to say that, because there's not a teaching of the sutras anywhere that I can find where it's not implicit in the teaching itself, that there's recitation and songing. It's just how we work, how the teachings were spread. Okay, I think I hammered that into the ground hard enough. I appreciate the question. Another opportunity to hit this topic, maybe from a different angle this time. Next, we will tackle those who think, because of their teachers, that meditation is the only way to practice Buddhism. It's a slippery question, I'll admit, because as I just said, our practice of singing the title of the Lotus Sutra and our dedication to that law that is the Lotus Sutra, Myoho Renge Kyo, to this mandala, to focus our minds so we can, the years of practice they've put into this breathing, counting, and all this stuff has only been to learn that there's a mind to quiet. That's not the answer. We do this now by chanting to a mandala, and it immediately happens. With little effort to knowing about counting, breathing, we do it naturally. We of this era know that when we sing with a rhythm, with an intent, that everything comes in line. If you haven't felt what it's like to go to a music concert, you will know what I'm talking about. And concerts have been around since cavemen, right? Many voices, thinking, acting in unison. There's a lifting of spirit that happens there that is very difficult to accomplish anywhere else in life. And we use that very mechanism, the mechanism taught in these different ideas on meditation technique. And we've put it together in a simple formula, the Lotus Sutra. This is Shakyamuni's enlightenment. Chanting with a visual component that's not some other attachment, but the teaching itself, very circular, awakening that which we want to achieve, the utmost, the Buddha nature, the Buddha mind. It's all here in this practice. And it's an active meditation. But isn't all meditation active? Of course, you would hear from these other teachers that no, the meditation is this or that, blah, blah, blah. It shows a tremendous lack of understanding of the scholarship of Buddhism and Shakyamuni's intent to say that chanting is somehow other than meditation. Because what? Because you can hear my voice? Singing works better that way. Try it. But still, there are those teachers and those students out there who will read ad nauseum the stories of going out in the woods, sitting quietly, uninterrupted, undistracted, trying to attain this mythical quietude. And it's not that it didn't have its place then, thousands of years ago. My point is that that's exactly what we do in our practice of chanting through this mandala, right? Where do you set up your butsudan? In the laundry room? Out in the by the freeway? No, we're told you set up this altar in a quiet place where you're not likely to be interrupted so that you can focus. Well, there's your forest. Set it up with nothing to distract you around it. No football trophies, no baseball cards, no relatives' pictures, unless you're doing a memorial to them. So that the only thing that your mind and your eyes can focus on is the mandala. And what is the mandala of? It's of the Gohonzon, which is internal. That's not the Gohonzon. It's the mandala of the Gohonzon. Why is it a mandala of the Gohonzon? Because the Gohonzon is the Dharma. It's the opening door from samsara to witness your non-earthly bound, attached mind, free, liberated from the attachments, the imperatives that cause stress, agitation, struggle, every manner of pain and suffering that we experience in samsara is because of this clinging, the aggregates, all of these terms. They're all taught in the previous sutras, but in the Lotus Sutra, they're not taught. They don't need to be, because by the time you get to the Lotus Sutra, doing what we do is all of that, rests on all of that earlier teaching, and we accomplish it in this simple formula. Use this mandala to focus your mind, your eyes, your ears, your body, everything that you experience in samsara as a transcendent elevator to your Buddha mind. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. If that's not what you're hearing, if that's not what you're teaching yourself, then you're going backwards. Why would you want to do that? All right. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. That's it. I'm not going to go on and on any further, although I could. If something was unclear in this, please say so in the comments. Ask me the question you want to ask me that's burning in your heart right now. I'm not belittling it, believe me. Humans are very stubborn creatures. We don't like to let go of what we previously thought we knew. Well, we just stay here. My goodness. She's very attached to her fears. Okay. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for participating, listening. Have a wonderful day. I don't know what the weather is where you are or when you are, but truly my appreciation isn't contemporaneous. It's for all time. You guys are the practice. I need you guys. So thank you for participating. Please take care of your health. Be kind to yourself and others. And I guess in the scope of this conversation, that is being mindful. that we all come through this gauntlet of humanity. And it's not easy to awaken your Buddha mind. It takes effort, doesn't it? Not least of which is staying focused on that effort. So, thank you for that as well. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I will see you in the next one. Unless there's a pouring out of questions on underneath this video after I post it, I will move on to the meditation question. And we'll probably revisit some of this as well. So take care of yourself. See you then. Bye.